What is going on, Cosmic Crew? Thanks for stopping by the channel today. We have a ton of news to go over today for Avengers Doomsday. We're talking its runtime. We're talking something Simu Liu just recently said in an interview, which I think a lot of people are misunderstanding. So we're going to clarify it for you in this video. Plus, a character who's going to have a major role and perhaps not the role you expected her to play. We have some new details about that, and also some new details about a scene with the Fantastic Four, specifically a scene with Sue Storm and Namor. Looks like they might be going a full comic story route with Namor and Sue Storm. A lot to go over, like I said today, and if you're new and you want to stay updated on everything Marvel and Avengers Doomsday, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. So, first things to talk about today, the reported runtime that's been going around everywhere online right now for Avengers Doomsday is reportedly, or I should say rumored, 3 hours and 45 minutes. Almost 4 hours long. Now, right away, I'd love to know, do you think this is too long? Not long enough? Or is it just right? Keep in mind, Avengers Endgame was just a little bit over 3 hours long. So this would be 45 minutes longer than that, 44, 43 minutes longer than that. It was like, it's a 3 hours and 1 minute, 3 hours and 2 minutes. I can't remember the exact one, but about 45 minutes longer than Endgame. I personally am here for it. I've always joked that I wish Doomsday and Secret Wars would be 4 hours long each with an intermission in between. Now, I doubt we're gonna ever really get intermissions again, but I do like the idea of it being almost 4 hours long. Yes, it's long, but if you think about everything that is going to happen in this movie, everything that we've heard so far, including some scenes and characters that we're about to talk about in this video, like there's so much happening. And if you think about it, it makes sense for it to be that long because Marvel is bringing just all of Marvel's history together in this video. Just think about Deadpool and Wolverine, because Channing Tatum, who plays Gambit, he has said that what they did in Deadpool and Wolverine, they're going to do in Avengers Doomsday, but times 50. So he is specifically talking about the Deadpool and Wolverine scene where they meet Elektra and Blade and Gambit, and then they go and they fight, and you see everybody else. You see all these villains that came back. Those scenes times 50, that is massive. So you think about all that has to go into this movie. A 3 hour and 45 minute runtime does make sense. Now, at this point in time, I think some people are questioning whether they should have just made a 2-part film, or maybe done Avengers Doomsday, made it about 3 hours long, then go to Secret Wars Part 1, Part 2, or Avengers Doomsday Part 1, Part 2, and then Secret Wars. I'd love to know your thoughts about this. I, for one, am happy about it because I think this means they're going to be able to take their time with Doom, which I think is really, really important because I think they really do have a lot to make up for when it comes to Dr. Doom. We got to know a lot about his backstory. They got to take time to really tell us who he is. And if he does have any connections to, let's say, like Reed Richards, or a Reed Richards, not necessarily Pedro Pascal's from the 828 universe, but just a Reed in general. And if he was married to a variant of Sue Storm and had a son named Franklin, there's so much we have to know about him. Plus his parents, his mother, her deal with Mephisto. Does all of that go on screen? Well, with a runtime of almost 4 hours, yeah, they have time to do that. So I'm glad that this is being thrown out there, and I hope it actually ends up being true. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is there's reportedly going to be an extensive scene that's going to show Tenoch Huerta's Namor and Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm. It says they share extensive screen time in Avengers Doomsday. Now, if you're not familiar with the comics, Namor, he's in love with Sue Storm. And this is coming from My Time to Shine Hello, and this is pretty interesting. Apparently in that desert scene, they're going to have some time together. And this actually reminds me of an older report that states we're going to actually split up the Fantastic Four. It's going to be Reed Richards and the Human Torch, and then Ben Grimm's The Thing and Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm. They'll be together. So it doesn't seem like Reed is going to be there, which is why we'll get the time with Namor and Sue Storm. And I'm assuming he's going to just see her and kind of fall in love with her and kind of just hit on her throughout the entire movie. And I do think, even though we've seen the 4th teaser trailer now, Namor is there, and it does look like the Wakandans and the Talikans are working together to save the entire universe, I still do think Namor might end up being more of a villain than he will actually being a hero, which is kind of how it is in the Secret Wars comics as well. So I think we're going to start to kind of see a little devilish side of Namor. Not that we haven't seen that in Wakanda forever. I mean, he killed Queen Ramonda and other Wakandans as well. But I think he's going to kind of ride the line of good or bad. And then ultimately by the end, I think he's actually going to be bad. But that means he's probably going to hit on Sue Storm a lot. Maybe even try to take her with him. We'll have to wait and see on that. Maybe the Thing has to step in, or maybe we get a Reed Richards and Namor fight. I think that would actually be pretty cool. So let me know what you think about that. I like that they are bringing like key points from comics over into the MCU. I do think the Russo brothers are very good at doing that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is really interesting because a lot of people, I think, one, are taking this out of context, and two, don't quite understand what is actually happening with this Simu Liu interview. So Simu Liu was recently on Good Sports, which is on Sports on Prime, Amazon Prime. It's called Good Sports with Kevin Hart and Kenan Thompson. They asked him if Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. will go full heated rivalry in Avengers Doomsday, in which he replied, I mean, if it makes people watch the movie, yeah. But here's the deal. This is part of a segment where they're basically throwing statements out there and he gives an answer that could be real or fake. And they're trying to guess if he's being real or fake. For example, the next question that they ask him is that they say Spider-Man is going to be in the film and Uncle Ben is going to return. But they say that it's Uncle Ben from the rice. And if you don't know, Uncle Ben is a rice brand. So you can see what they're doing here, right? It's not like Simu Liu is revealing anything major. I wish he were. And I do believe there's going to be I actually think they're going to market a lot with Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., the rivalry between them. I do think that it's going to be really marketed and it's going to be really big in the movie. Captain America versus Dr. Doom. Yeah. I mean, Captain America is going to be one of the main characters. Doom is obviously the main villain. It's all about Doom. Yeah. And they're going to market this and we're going to see this. But also at the same time, full heated rivalry. Right now, there's a show called Heated Rivalry, and it's about two hockey players who are gay with each other. So that's kind of what he's at. They're kind of making a joke here. So if they're going to go full heated rivalry with each other, you get what they're saying. So it's a joke, you know what I mean? But also at the same time, I mean, it's like, yes, we know Chris Evans and we know Robert Downey Jr. They're going to be the two stars of this movie along with other stars. But there's so many people in this movie, 50 plus characters. We are going to have stars. Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America, and of course, Dr. Doom are two of the main stars of the movie because we still have main stars. But I just wanted to clear that up because it seemed like a lot of people aren't really kind of understanding that. But now I think you can get the joke. Now, last but certainly not least, I think this is really cool. We've got two reports from Daniel RPK. One, he says, I hear that Haley Atwell will have the biggest role she's ever had in an Avengers film in Doomsday. She's not just a cameo, and she actually has a role throughout the movie. Then in a second report from him, he states Haley Atwell is reportedly playing multiple characters in Avengers Doomsday. Now, when I first heard that, I immediately thought, okay, she's playing Peggy Carter, and she's going to play basically Captain Carter, the multiverse one that we saw from What If, which I think would be really cool. Because the very last episode of the very last season of What If, Captain Carter was pretty awesome in that, right? I thought she was pretty cool. And to take someone from an animated show, bring her into live action, I actually think would be really cool and would really showcase the multiverse aspect of this film very well. But it's really interesting that he says, she's going to have the biggest role she's ever had in an Avengers film. Well, yeah, obviously, right? In the Avengers film, she hasn't had really a big role. But I mean, she's had really big roles to play just with her own show and in the MCU in general, right? She's had really big roles. So for this to be like her biggest role ever, I do think she is going to be very integral and at least a part of the story. But it does make me feel like we're going to get the Captain Carter almost multiversal entity at this point in time in the movie, which I think would be really cool. And I'm really curious to see what Steve Rogers would even say for that. Because I think it would be, very interesting. It's your wife, but it's not your wife. The whole variant concept is going to be, I think, really interesting to see because it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of characters react to that, right? So we've already had the Spider-Man meme, which was just completely amazing. But keep in mind, some variants look exactly like each other. Some variants look very different. Spider-Man being an exception, not an exception, but being the example of that. And then also, Loki has Sylvie. Sometimes they're the opposite gender. So I think there's going to be some really cool aspects there. I am actually really excited for Haley Atwell to get a really big role, because I did like seeing her as Captain Carter in the Multiverse of Madness, but I didn't like that. Well, I don't think anybody liked how quickly the Illuminati got destroyed, right? They're supposed to be the strongest heroes of that universe, and the Scarlet Witch, albeit she is probably the strongest character in that universe, in all the universe, the multiverse right now, they died really, really quickly. So for her to get a redemption as Captain Carter and maybe play more of a role in the multiverse aspect of it, I'm excited for it. But let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. We're just getting more and more news about Avengers Doomsday every day. So if you want to stay up to date, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.